This is the GPL Podcast, part of the Pulltab Sports family.
Freddie, let's go to Cabela's.
So Eric, tell me, how do you think you did?
5 or 6 goals on about 10 shots. On my career average.
We'll put this on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
I know.
Is that when I get to pour another old fashioned? I was told it's okay.
Oh,
if
yes.
I tip this on the show. Okay.
Cheers.
Triple, stomp to St. Paul. Let's go.
Stomp. There we go. Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL Podcast, episode number 281. Well, it was a nice week off, Viggs. I went up to northern Wisconsin to try to do a little ice cave stuff near Bayfield. Looks like you had a lot of fun team stuff for hockey, didn't you? With the kids.
Yep. More youth hockey stuff. Kids are wrapping up their season this month, so it's been a busy year. A lot of fun, a lot of development, and
a lot of
I'm
cool
enjoying it.
events. I mean, you had the mayor's thing, you had the wild thing. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff this year.
yeah, I've got to explain to my kids that things like this don't happen every single year. I think my daughter is getting a little jealous of all of his opportunities. So hopefully in a couple of years, she'll have the same deal.
All right. Well, we've got Kinger on the show tonight. John King from Pulltab Sports, of course. He's making his yearly appearance. So no need to wait. Let's just bring him right in. There he is. Kinger, how's it going, man?
Well, it's 3-3. The Scandinavians are on the move, folks.
I saw that in the chat. It sounds like someone said tweet Sweden. So
Eriksson Ek, by the way.
Eriksson, yeah, right there.
So let's go. Let's take hockey from Canada. Let's go to St. Louis. Let's just have an outstanding.
Yeah. We already get Steve A. Nice hoodie, boys.
They are nice. The gold is better though.
I know everyone's got the. I want
by a mile, Jupiter. By
Yeah.
a mile.
I love this.
No offense. I mean, they're both.
I love this. It's really nice. It's really nice. And remember, well, the white ones are still available. Use GPL 15 and you can get 15% off. Just saying. They are good quality, aren't they, Viggs? They're very comfy. They're light and heavy at the same time. If I could say, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, mine is almost like kind of like that rugby jersey fabric.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a heavy duty. It's not like quite like a sweatshirt, type soft thing, but it's very nice. Well constructed, good tackle twill. Check out the home field stuff. It's good deal.
Kinger, you had mentioned on Twitter a couple weeks ago during the Wisconsin series, Minnesota got down early, down 2-0, came back to win. And one comment that kind of stood out to me is you're like, this is one of the best crowds I've seen at Mariucci. It was loud.
It is. The Raw has been restored to Mariucci.
There we go.
I had season tickets for quite a while, and it was a Morgan there for a while. So
yeah,
kudos to Coyle and that gigantic student section. It's electric in there. I mean, if you go in there and it's sold out, it is so fun. The game ops, the band, the Drew's popcorn, best popcorn in the world, by the way. Yeah, the thing that was so weird was after the Rouser, there would almost be like a echo, like a sonic boom. There was like a second. I just turned to my wife. I was like, man, I mean, it's so fun. And they're playing good. So
they are playing good, Viggs. And, we thought we were thinking more along the lines of a split. We probably didn't really see a sweep coming on because honestly, the Badgers had been playing much better as of recently. And, Minnesota got down, but they didn't panic, Viggs. We didn't see any of those snuggerooed, frustration things. They just stuck to their game, and took advantage in the third period of that first game.
Yeah, one of the things we asked Bob Motzko after the weekend was, how impressed was he that his team stuck to their game plan and didn't get frustrated? And he said, I hate January. I love February. And I think for the players, it's easier now. They see the end of the season in sight. And so they're able to focus. They're able to be a little bit more resilient and stick to their game plan. And that's what they did against Wisconsin. They finally got some chances. They capitalized and pulled out the 6 points, which was definitely surprising because it looked like Wisconsin was going to find their momentum there coming into that weekend, and now they've lost 4 in a row, and their season's a little bit on the brink.
It's pretty much over for them, isn't it, really? Because, I mean,
there's a lot of teams right now that were in like the top 15 at the start of the year that are now in that kind of, they have to win their conference tournament. You know, you look at Wisconsin, they're a team in that situation. You look at Cornell, they're in that situation. You look at St. Cloud, North Dakota, they're in that situation as well. It's been quite the interesting season when you look at the polls at the start of the year versus what the pairwise is looking at right now.
and one thing we've talked about, Kinger, is that, you know, do we want Minnesota to finish in first place? Because we kind of almost get the feeling, yes, they would love to finish, love to hang a banger, but kind of get that feeling from Bob, like, I want to play that weekend. Technically, they rule their own destiny right now. If they win the rest of their games, probably won't happen. They would be the league champions. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just want to get to St. Louis, and so I want them to have an easier semi in the regional. That's all I care about. Not that there's any easy games in college hockey, because
Yeah.
I was just looking. Princeton swept Ohio State at some point this year. I don't even know what happened when that happened, but yeah, I just it's nice to hang a banner, but that's not the banner we're after. We want another star on the back of the jersey. The fact that the University of Minnesota only has 5, that is just troubling. So we got to finish the job in St. Louis.
Should we be having stars on the jersey? Would you like that idea, guys?
Well, we don't have enough of them. You know, Denver.
I know, but they
Yeah,
don't put anything on the jerseys like other schools do.
it's the only thing that matters. So I like it. You know, Boston College has the same, my alma mater has the same amount of national championships. They have the stars. I think it's outstanding. You know, you win one and that star's there forever. I'd like that, but I wish we had more. Denver would have the whole
Yeah.
shoulder.
They would.
And Michigan would have plenty as well.
Well, I like when you get to the point where you have so many stars that you start having a gold star to equal 5 titles at a time. You know, that's the real way to do it right there.
You're just trying to bring the attention back to your gold hoodie being slightly better.
Oh,
I love
geez,
gold.
Here we go.
The gold are special. That's like the Notre Dame green, man. That's good stuff.
I just went with white because I've got so much gold stuff already. Not much white. So
The other thing I really liked out of the Wisconsin series, though, was how much better Minnesota was in the faceoff circle. You know, it's been such a talking point about how bad they've been. I think going into the series, Wisconsin was 5th in the country in faceoff percentage, and the Gophers were 50th. So it was quite the disparity. And Minnesota did pretty well on the weekend, especially I noticed on the penalty kill. That's kind of been an Achilles heel for the Gophers this year, is losing draws on the PK and then quick offense coming out of those losses. One thing I looked at, Josh Kreitzer once again hooked me up with some Instat video of Gopher faceoff situations. And I noticed right away, Minnesota was much more aggressive on a lost draw, putting pressure and getting into their system in the D zone than they'd been in the past. In the past is like, I didn't get the 50-50 puck. I'm frustrated. Now it's, okay, we lost. Where do I need to go? I got to fight to get there and take away shooting lanes and take away space. And they are much more deliberate with that. And I think when they're that engaged, it allows them to get to more 50-50 pucks as well. And so when we were talking about Motzko at availability this week, talking to Connor Kerr, talking to Ryan Chesley, they all just said our attention to detail and our engagement was much higher than it's been all season.
One thing, Viggs, I want to make sure we don't forget about is that Mr. Soulier played both games. We kind of wanted to see that. Airy was a little under the weather. First, give me your thoughts on, obviously, he seems like he played pretty well that weekend.
Yeah, I thought Soulier looked really confident. He is an aggressive goalie. He's an athletic goalie. He likes to get out and play the puck, and he's just got so much experience. And he did well both games. I don't think the first 2 goals on Friday were necessarily his fault. You know, those are just good goals that happened, and he recovered and played well for the rest of the weekend. And it certainly feels like he might be getting his chance here to be a number 1 goalie Bob says I never pick number ones. They kind of prove
Pick
themselves
yeah.
throughout the year. And when you sweep Wisconsin at a key point in the year, I think you're putting yourself in the conversation to be the number one goalie going down the stretch. And when I asked Bob, like, what are the strengths of the goalies? He led off with Soulier right away, talking about his puck handling, his experience, his poise. And then he almost forgot about his other goalie, Nathan Airy, and I had to prompt him with a second question. He's like, "Oh yeah, well he's big, he's calm,
yeah,
he's a good goaltender when he's on his game."
Thoughts about Soulier and Airy, Kinger?
Yeah, I like Soulier. He's got great hair.
He's got some good flow. Yeah,
he's fun to watch play. He's got a little of that street hockey, get out of the net, fan favorite. Yeah, he's been jumping out to me all year. So I guess the other guy, Airy, must be more of a kind of a blue blood goalie, or he's just younger, or I don't know what the thinking is. They're both obviously good goalies. The team's had a great year, but there's something about Soulier that just seems like fun. Like you're going to be in the foxhole. I don't know. Why not with the cagey old vet throwing water on his head in the net? Yeah, I like him. He would be my choice.
Viggs, Airy is just different personality. Those two seem to get along really great, really support each other. It's just a different personality.
Yeah, I mean, he's younger. He's not as experienced as Soulier and probably just not as comfortable yet. I think the plan this year was to basically get him up to speed. Last year was kind of a lost season for him with the lower body injury and not being able to play. So they had to bring in some competition this year.
Yeah.
He's looked good at times. He's only lost, 2-3 games in the whole season.
Not
so
much.
he's played well. It's just, you get to this point of the year, you do kind of want to get a number one goalie in between the pipes.
Soulier just feels like a bunkhouse guy, right? Like he's in the Yellowstone universe, he'd be in the bunkhouse. And I think when you go on a stretch drive, this is the time now. So I think the guys would rally around him.
Motzko give you any inclination? Are they going to go with two goalies this weekend? Stick with one? He's not going to give you anything, did he?
Yeah, Randy Johnson asked him, and he's like, "Randy, we don't make those decisions on Tuesday." And it's just like, well, that's why you have availability on Tuesday and you decide on Wednesday, So
perfect timing.
I'm sure the players know by now.
They probably do. Kinger, you gave me a bunch of topics.
Yeah.
But one of them that actually wasn't on the list that we kind of talked about, that you guys talked about last night, getting into the high school stuff, seems like you both kind of are favoring, let's move to a 3-class tournament. And it certainly seemed popular with your guests last night.
Yeah, and some of them coaches. Very controversial topic because it is because
it was a big deal when they went to a 2. It just was.
Well, participation medal, watering down, but my thinking is I just love the tournament, right? And so it is scary to change anything, right? But to me, if you had a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in St. Paul, it'd be Mardi Gras. And if that makes the base of hockey in Minnesota bigger, the whole model of Minnesota is we make hockey players, and it's community hockey. It could be the savviest move we ever made, even though it might be terrifying at the start. But I wouldn't want to be the one to push the button because I would never want to mess with the tournament and have somehow it didn't work and you wrecked hockey in Minnesota. But it seems like it could really work. There'd be a carrot for so many more kids and so many more communities. And football does it. All the other sports do it. I think we could probably figure it out. I think it's interesting.
That's a lot more hockey here too.
Exactly.
A lot more flow.
The single A kids always have better hair than the double A. Can you imagine the real small town? It'd be like a TED talk of hockey hair. It'd be amazing.
But I kind of got the feeling last night, Viggs, that it's like there's just such a group of 15 to 20 teams that are just dominating now, not really giving the next kind of 20 to 30, 40 teams much of a chance. So, you got A and double A, and then like use a lot of those games, honestly, even in A, when you get the tournament, some of them are just still blowouts. But with the double A in the section tournament, you're getting some really lopsided results, something we didn't see 20, 30, 40 years ago. So they're just trying to spread it out.
Well, I think you're seeing some of these top programs, the players are specializing so early that the discrepancy between, the best and the, less experienced teams is getting bigger. And some of those games just aren't productive. Those 1-8 games are not very good. The 2-7 games are not very good. And I think, Grizz from Holy Angels, in his section, it's basically like a mini state tournament to get into a state tournament. And those games are great. I remember in my 20s going with Grizz to the Bloomington Ice Garden or Braemar to watch those section semi games, because those were just as good as the state tournament. And then you get to the state tournament, there's usually one game that's just not very competitive. And so I think trying to get the best field for that first day of the big school tournament is the objective.
Change is hard, though. So that's the biggest thing right there. You'd have to have a lot of coaches kind of get on board, wouldn't you, Kinger?
Yeah, it's like changing the frame on the Mona Lisa, right? Like I wouldn't want to do it, but if I had to bet if it would be good for Minnesota hockey, I think I would bet that it would be good. And that's what I care about. So, and there's a lot of smart people that agree with that, but it's a hot topic, man. I mean, I was getting texts from my buddies like, basically, you big baby, you want to give everyone a ribbon, while I'm live. And these are guys I skate with, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. Grow the game is the whole point, right? Keep more kids playing hockey longer. Could be really genius.
Live shows are fun, aren't they? They're a little crazy.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think it's good too. There's always the fight over how many games high school teams should be playing. And I think by having these three classes, you're going to have these better teams, get 3 to 6 more games on their schedule that'll be competitive and high stakes. And it gives everybody something to play for. If you're one of those kids at a school that's really struggling, how much work are you going to put into your hockey training and focus, knowing that even is 100% effort all year, you're still not going to have a chance in that game at the end of the year. So hockey being such a long-term athlete development sport, more games, more time, the better.
The funny thing about the watered down thing too is if you met some guy in his 20s and he said he won a state championship playing football in Hutchinson or whatever the city was, your first instinct isn't going to be, oh, that didn't count, or you're not good at football, or so I don't know. I think there's some powdered wigs that would need to get bounced around a little bit to make it happen.
It's an interesting topic, and I haven't been following the high school scene much lately until I started watching your live Tuesday night broadcast. Was your last one of those? Would you do about 6 of them this year?
Yeah, we were trying to do College Game Day meets Manning cast for high school hockey. We got the Manning cast down. That was really fun and weird, and I'd love to see a pro team do it. By the way, Gopher guest this year, Troy Riddle was an absolute. If you go on the Pulltab Hockey YouTube and watch the first period, you'll laugh like you've never laughed. I've never seen somebody come in like a Kool-Aid man to a live stream and just. He was saying insightful things. He was crazy. It was. Did you know him, Vigo or Jupiter, back in the day? I mean,
I did not. No.
National champ. This guy is hilarious. I would love to party with him. And Hauser last night, I think he was having a good time as well.
Well, it did seem like I did catch Hauser.
Those Rogers parents know where the parking lot is, I think.
That you do what you got to do. I mean, but the funny thing is, I love the Manning cast. I love how they we just kind of BS about different topics, kind of watch what's going on. They pay more attention to the game, but I don't really care about that stuff. I care about what the banter. I actually think it got a little stale this year when they kept bringing in Belichick like every episode. I'm like, you didn't need to do that so much, but
I totally agree. I can't watch Monday night unless it's Manning cast. Probably it's attention deficit, really.
Yeah, but they didn't do it for the Vikings game. I'm like, I was waiting for them, and then they didn't. They haven't done it for a Vikings game yet, and I'm like, please do it because I don't. It's more entertaining, and you can still watch the game. So
yeah, I think they did it for the last game against the Lions because wasn't Jared Allen on? I think they skipped our game during the season, but
I didn't see that one. So
I watched the Jared Allen one because I really enjoyed that. We got the background on the curling story from him about how he got kind of chided into doing it to try to make the Olympics and that process, and it was fun. The costume that he wore one day when he saw Peyton Manning, and he was dressed up in this Speedo because he was like Michael Phelps or something like that, and so Peyton Manning's like, "What the heck are you doing wearing that?" So,
yeah, that's the hardest thing with the live stream is a lot of people want to turn it into a podcast and kind of get their words out. You just have to chill. Just hang out with us, watch the game, just like you're in your living room.
Yep.
And that's when it gets good. And we did have, Riddle did that. Some of the people did it, but it'll take a little time for us to figure it out.
I would love to do that for Gopher hockey, but they would get you for copyright for broadcasting anything like that on TV or on the internet or streaming, some kind of legalities and stuff.
Someday, Jude, Kanger will figure it out for us, I bet.
Yeah, I'm a big copyright guy. That's what I'm known for.
Now, bringing it back to the Gophers, another kind of one of your topics, Kinger, Ben Gordon and his gum chewing. Now, tell us a little bit of your thoughts before we show your video.
Well, I'm a fan, and I want to enhance your fan experience. My wife pointed this out to me. We had good seats. Mr. Hankinson has some seats that are the best seats in Mariucci, by the way, and I've over leveraged any friendship I have with him to use those a couple times. But my wife said, you got to watch this coach chew gum. I've never seen anything like it. Like his jaw muscles are as big as Lionel Richie's. Like he is murdering his gum right now. And we got a little video here. I mean, it's something worth watching. It's something you should ask him at media availability.
Oh, really? So let's take a look here.
Get that pull right now.
He is part of the
It's
gum, right?
insane.
Bubbles.
TMJ. He's got TMJ.
Oh my God, this is savage.
Wow.
I need one more bubble. You think you can get it here?
Oh,
Welcome to the
no.
bubbles.
Not very often.
It's the best gum chewer in the Big Ten.
Or is he not?
Biggest gum chewer in the Big Ten, you said.
He absolutely murders it. I love the intensity. He may sleep in a mouth guard, but as long as it helps the Gophers, I'm down for it.
What do you think the bites to bubble ratio is for Gordon? Is it like 80-1?
Well, that's what he does blow bubbles. I do not think I got that on the video there. It's like beats per minute. I would say he's an EDM gum chewer. I mean, he is
nice.
He's Diplo on the Bubblicious. I would love, this is going to make its way back to him and be the weirdest.
That's just fine.
What's your chews per minute? It looked like 80.
Yeah.
It's solid.
Big number. We might have been losing 2-0 at that time, to be fair. So he might slow it down as the game changes.
It does go quite fast. Yeah. Wow. I just couldn't. It's probably just more of a mind thing to just kind of keep your mind moving or something like that. I don't, just like, you got baseball players chewing, seeds and stuff like that. It's just something to kind of keep you going.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff most of your beat reporters bring you each week, right? We're going deep on this. We can probably just back out of it. I don't know that there's any more we can talk about.
Oh, I think it's kind of funny, and people probably notice it too, and then
they will now.
Go for it, man. Go for it, man. Before we got to talk about some of our sponsors, but kind of a big thing we're doing next week with your whole team, Kinger, is fiber to the fish house with Gateway Fiber. This is going to be kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, let's hope it's warm. I can do this one for you. I'll
Yeah.
give you a shift off, Vigo. So old buddy that married someone I worked with in advertising, and he's at this internet company, Gateway Fiber, and they're moving into Minnesota. They're in about 6 cities, and they're going right at Xfinity, high speeds, better service. And he's like, let's do a stunt. We're going to literally bring fiber optic cable to a fish house on Fish Lake in Maple Grove, turn it into an event next Thursday. So if you work anywhere near Maple Grove, come on down. 11 o'clock to 2 will be the sweet spot. Red Savoy Pizza. The Hobie Baker winner's son, Brendan Bonnen, is a very good musician. If you like kind of Zach Bryan and all that kind of new country.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Misfit coffee. It's all free. So the food and the drink are free. They'll give you swag and tumblers. There's a wild ticket giveaway. There's a fishing expedition giveaway. And then later in the day, we're going to run 3 pods out of there, including the greatest Gopher hockey pod from 4 to 5 GPL, which will mess up your ritual listeners, but that's okay. We're all participating. But yeah, check it out. I mean, play hooky, take a long lunch, come say hi. It'll be a good time.
It definitely will. I'm really actually looking forward to it, Kinger. It's going to be something different for us too.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. I promise I'll bring you some weird stuff. This would qualify.
Definitely. So we're going to be in a fish house.
Yeah, nice one though.
Yeah.
This is like glamping. I mean, this is
nice.
This is not a bucket and a hole. This is fancy. It'll be just as nice as you're doing right now.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I like taking kind of part of the day off too, and coming up there and prepping for the weekend. We'll have Cappy on too, so that'll be fun as well. Like I said, it'll be a different show. We're not going to really have some overtime because he's got Vikings verified from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Our show from 4 to 5, and then Crunch Wears No Pants from 5 to 6 p.m. So a full slot of football, hockey, and basketball. I love it.
Yep.
But also, otherwise, we also have got Lunch Bucket Hockey, which we know, Kinger, you love. But Viggs, tell us about Lunch Bucket.
Yeah, Lunch Bucket. For those grit and grind players that would do anything for their teammates, this is the brand for you. A couple Minnesotans used to play a little bit of Friday lunchtime hockey. They figured out, hey, we need a brand for us. And so they came up with Lunch Bucket Hockey. They do lots of custom jerseys. You check out their Instagram page. They've got lots of fun stuff. I know Lakeville had some jerseys for their first responders night. Jack Ramsey, when he went out to Vail to play, his Lumberjacks got some Lunch Bucket Hockey jerseys. Really cool stuff. So check them out at lunchbuckethockey.com today and get some grit and grind apparel for you.
I need to get me some of that gear, Viggs. I love that logo. It's just top notch. Just love it. Time for Vigo's top 20. Not a lot of change at the top, even though BC lost this week. They lost to a good BU team. And their pairwise is so high right now, Viggs. They're probably going to stay up there unless they collapse.
Yeah, it's almost a lock for BC to be the number 1 overall seed. I'm sure Kinger
MSU
smiles when he sees that. MSU is a little bit more variable because the Gophers have 3 series left. Michigan State's only got 2, and Michigan State plays Penn State and Notre Dame, I believe, to finish out the year. It's kind of the bottom teams in the Big Ten.
So
Penn
maybe
State's
been playing a lot
finish.
better, though.
They have been playing better now. They've creeped into 16 in the pairwise. So they've been better. So no weeks off in the Big Ten, as all the coaches know. So it's pretty tight at those top 3 spots right now. Western keeps rolling in the NCHC. Denver has had some struggles. I don't know if they're having trouble. Bob says, he's so glad that January is over and they can turn to February. Denver is still having a hard time turning the page. They've got so much talent on that roster, as I think we've seen at times with Minnesota. When they get to a Frozen Four that next year, they just wish they could spin the clock right to April again. But you have to play the games. They're still in a safe position here at 10 in the pairwise, but NCHC is not having a great year. You look at the teams that are in good pairwise situation right now for NCHC, it's Denver and Western. Arizona State's kind of in a dangerous spot there at 13.
Yep.
And I don't think there's going to be any other NCAC teams that can get an at-large bid at this point.
But I see, there we go. Penn State sneaking in your number 17 there, 16 in the pairwise. They're creeping up. They, like you said, they've been playing well, and they swept the Badgers last weekend.
Yeah, Penn State's been playing better. It's tough at the bottom of the poll. Like my 17, 18, 19, 20 teams last week, they all had big struggles. Sacred Heart got swept by Army. Augustana got swept by Minnesota State. I heard that Augustana actually probably outplayed Minnesota State, but there's this player named Rhett Pitlick who seems to be able to capitalize on opportunities and get
I recall
goals.
him. Yeah, I recall him.
32 points, by the way.
Jeez.
Yeah, if you want updates, check out Alex Nicoletti and Dan Myers on X. They will be hyping up Rhett Pitlick for the rest of the season. I still have noticed his game still has a lot of turnovers and not a lot of takeaways. I did a little deep dive in some analytics, and it's kind of the same thing as last year. So what you see is what you get with Rhett. A lot of great individual skill. How he fits into a team game is still, a challenge for him.
I just really wanted to touch quick on St. Cloud State, Viggs. It can't be just goaltending and the loss of a goalie that just caused them to collapse so much in the last 2 months.
Well, I just don't know if they have the talent on the back end that we're used to seeing with St. Cloud. They've had a lot of great blue line cores over the years. You look at their roster right now, there's not the kind of talent back there that they've had in the past. And I think that really impacts how they play, because they do play that kind of defensive structure that has to rely on counterattacks with defensemen joining the rush. And I just don't think they have that right now on their roster.
Okay. But there's Kinger's BC team at the top. That's all he cares about. BC and Minnesota.
I love the Bean Pot, and my daughter lives out there. That BU team with that goalie they brought up from Omaha.
Yes.
That is going to be a problem, folks. I was looking at his stats because he still has a Lancer's helmet in the Bean Pot. Thinking, what is this about? This is like a December 31st special. Guy was like 3-12 on Omaha with a .915 save percentage. So he must have just been like, put a smoke flare up, a helicopter came, and he went to BU. That is a nasty team too. Be very afraid of BU as well. Ohio State too. I mean, Rollick's an awesome coach. I don't know what happened in that Princeton series, but ever since,
it was early.
He got their full attention, and that's going to be we got some fun stuff down the stretch if we're going to see what we're made of. Michigan this week and Ohio State, Penn State. That is a great way to finish up if you're getting ready for the playoffs.
And really, that's what Minnesota found out the hard way, didn't they? Because when they went to Ohio State, they got their butts kicked that first night.
Well, I think that was one of those weekends where the Gophers got bored. When you play teams like that, you're going to have a lot of shifts that end in essentially a draw. You have a 3-and-out, and you got to punt, and you got to get off the ice. And I think when you get into games like that, if you're not mentally ready for it, it's challenging, because then you start chasing offense. Your shifts get too long. You get tired, and you get caught because you're just not competing and ready for attention to detail. In that game, Gophers were getting beat to the net. They were getting on the wrong side of their check. And you can't do that against Ohio State. They're too well coached. They're a good skating team, and they've got a lot of veterans. They did well in the portal this year. And the Buckeyes have probably been the surprise of college hockey. They were picked to finish last in the Big Ten by the coaches. And here they are, in the top 10 in the pairwise and really battling Michigan State and Minnesota for top spots in the Big Ten.
Steve Rollick, man.
Great overtime. Is it? Do you see you watching the game there, Kinger? Is this overtime still going on?
I'm trying not to have my. Oh, there it is. It's over now. Canada, Mitch Marner. I'll give you the goal call. 4-3 overtime. Canadian Tears will have to wait till Saturday night.
Let me tell you though, I love this so much better than wasting time with an all-star game. That just is a joke.
It looks really good. The hockey was very good tonight. Started out a little razzle dazzle, but then it got physical in the second, and I mean, this is going to be real best on best hockey.
I love it. I just love it. It's great hockey. It's like I said, it's not a joke all-star game that means nothing. So, Kinger, you said getting to St. Louis, and what would it mean overall winning it this year?
Yeah,
I love that topic because it does seems like we've been slowly building. There you go, right there.
That's what happens if we get to St. Louis.
You're seeing double.
We turn the arch. I would be seeing double, but we also turn the arch into the M.
Nice.
I think what it means is, so first of all, Bob hasn't won one.
Mm-hmm.
Guy's a great coach. He went through a horrible thing in his life. He needs this. He needs to get all the way to the top of the mountain. He deserves to get to the top of the mountain. Minnesota is long overdue. It's funny. I was talking to this is my last thing I'll say on this, but I was talking to my daughter, and she said the last time Boston College won the Beanpot was 2016 when she was in high school, and she went there. And I started to think, I don't think she's had any sports joy in her entire life. When the Gophers won it in 02 and 03, she was 3 years old or 4 years old.
Yeah, my daughter was too. Yep.
She didn't get the twins. So, I mean, we got to get all the way up on something. I know the P-Dub won and the Lynx and stuff, but we need a Gopher championship or Wild, or Minnesota needs to win something. It's going to change our psyche. Why not St. Louis? I think this is Bob's dream team. I wanted to ask you, Vigo, my sense, knowing Motzko, is this is his favorite team he's ever had because it's not relying on one line. He's got the big defenseman. The goalie thing's maybe a little wiggly for him, but he's got depth. And, you got Jimmy Clark and all these guys, you got like 10 forwards. Sam Renzel is an unbelievable defenseman in the mold of the glory days of Minnesota. And I just think Bob, this is what he's always wanted. So why not have this team win it for him and for us, and my kids?
Well, I just feel like with this team, there's not a lot of question marks in the players. There's so many guys returning who are in pretty solidified roles that they have experience in. It's almost like an easy team to coach because you're not having to instruct all the time and deal with patience with players. What you see is what you get. And he's often said, I don't want any surprises. I don't want good surprises. I don't want bad surprises. I just want this team to be. And, they've dealt with injury in the first half. They've dealt with illness here in the second half. And I think he's just hoping that they're in a good spot now to finish out the season and get into games that really matter because this team is pretty consistent. I don't think they're as flashy as some of the teams in the past, but they are pretty deep. And goals, for whatever reason, seem to come easily to this team. They're among the nation leaders in goal scoring, and it just comes from all kinds of different areas.
I mean, think of how many names, right? You got Snuggie, Top Jimmy, number 2 in scoring, Kurth 19, Wood. We'll count Rhett Pitlick for our team too, 32 points. But then you go, think of that. You got Moore, Lamb, Zemer, Hughlin, Jimmy Clark, Beckett Hendrickson. I mean, Renzel. Do you get that sense though that this is kind of the team he would want to recruit coming together? It feels like a Motzko dream team, doesn't it?
Well, and it's an older group.
Yeah.
Nationally, they're still not that old. They're still pretty young nationally. But for a Gopher team, this is about as old as it gets because they've got guys who have come back for extra years. They've got recruits who have delayed enrolling into college, and a lot of junior experience. There aren't very many guys on this roster who just went from like a high school or a U18 season to the program here. So, that's what he's been trying to do since he signed the dotted line with Mark Coyle. And we'll see what happens when we get to the end of the year. Soulier looks like he's solidified the goal a little bit. Penalty kill has been a weakness for this team, but not when Soulier is in net. So if they get that figured out, it could be a good finish for them.
And you look at somebody like Lamb, who really has 1 assist in the last large group of games. If he can get going again, that's even more balance that we need, Viggs.
Well, I think one of the things with Lamb is the Gophers just haven't been getting very many power play chances the last couple series. For whatever reason, the Big Ten refs have let a lot of stuff go.
Yeah.
And the Gophers just aren't getting very many power play chances. They're not having many penalty kill chances either. The Gophers are one of the least penalized teams in college hockey, but other teams aren't getting calls against Minnesota. So it's just kind of a free-for-all out there. And the players have to figure out where the line is. And I think we saw a little bit in the Wisconsin series, the Gophers saying, oh, they're not going to call anything. We can be more aggressive too. We don't have to be on the receiving end of everything. We can dish a little bit more.
And one more thing that you got to put out there before anyone else that I saw, Viggs, Mr. Hughlin and his wife had their baby on Sunday.
Yep. Little Evelyn was welcomed to the world for Maddie and Aaron. Aaron is adjusting to dad life. He's getting woken up throughout the night to take care of a little baby. The baby girl came a little bit early. The due date was in March, but timed it perfectly with the bye week. So he was able to spend more time with the trio, and baby's healthy. Everything's good. So exciting times there.
It is very exciting time. I think is he 23, 24? He's older.
He's an older guy. Yeah. Because he had that long experience in the USHL with injuries. They kind of pushed everything out for him. So he's a mature young man.
And he will be there this weekend?
That's the expectation. He skated on Tuesday when availability was happening. So he looked happy to be on the ice.
Yeah.
And he was sticking around after practice ended, working on a few individual skills before going home. So I think that was a good little escape for him for just a little bit.
Fun. That's fun. That's good. I wouldn't be offended either if he missed this weekend, because some things are just more important than hockey. But if he can get it in his schedule, and like you said, it was great timing right in the middle of the bye week. It turned out pretty well, and give him a little extra energy for this weekend against Michigan. So
probably good to get on the road too for a young dad.
Yeah, maybe.
Dads can't do anything the first year anyway. He needs to play.
Yeah,
get him in the lineup. Come on.
All right, Viggs, we need to talk about Cub Foods, and we know you hang out there a lot. What have you been shopping for lately at Cub Foods?
Yeah, well, we're trying to turn the page. I got ready for my big Super Bowl, big game activities this past weekend, going to Cub Foods, getting stocked up for that, getting my Jimmys for my dressings and dips there. Lots of good produce at Cub. If you're looking for something for a party, Cub's always going to have you covered. They've got great inventory. They've got lots of local products that are always on the shelf. So check out Cub Foods. There's liquor stores now with a lot of Cub Foods. If you're looking for drinks for a party, wine, THC stuff, they got you covered. Or you can go to cub.com, order for pickup or delivery. One of us, they sponsor the Pulltab Sports studio. They're on all the Gopher headsets. Love them.
Definitely good stuff. I love just going in there and getting some hot tenders, maybe mashed potatoes, put it in a container, bringing it home. Great stuff. Great stuff. And then, of course, Jimmy's. You were just mentioning Jimmy's, Viggs, as your dressing of choice for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm trying to eat a little healthier. I'm trying to turn the page. I can focus a little bit more on my health, and Jimmy's dill dip is just the go-to for me. I get a bunch of veggies, cut them up, carrots, celery, bell peppers, tomatoes, and they just go great in the Jimmy's dip. It's one of the most popular condiments in the state. So if you haven't tried it yet, find the dill dip. It's my favorite thing right now. When you have a party, everyone's going to love it. Make sure it's on your table. Jimmy's. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
Yeah, I always love that, Viggs.
That's good.
And I'm still more of a caramel dip guy, but it's not the season. But I still love it.
Wait till fall.
I know. We have our favorites, and that's good.
I will tell you, caramel dip with some apples after the ODR is a must.
That's hot.
Mm.
That's hot.
Because you warm up the caramel, you got the apples. You know, it takes a while to make the hot cocoa. Hot caramel and apples, good way to go.
Nice. Vigs, heading to Ann Arbor this weekend. Michigan splits with Michigan State. They had a great series. I thought it was very entertaining. Michigan's got to be pissed because of how they performed here back in early December. So they probably got a bit of revenge on their brain for this weekend.
Which could play into the Gophers' hands. You know, Nerado's teams have been undisciplined. We saw it in the second game against Michigan State, all the penalties. We saw a face mask penalty major called on one of their players. It's been something that's come out. When the Gophers have played Michigan in the Big Ten title games, Michigan has toned up the discipline. They've
Very much
figured
so.
it out.
Yeah.
They've played a great game, but sometimes when they have these regular season games, they just lose their heads. They play undisciplined. They give up lots of rush chances. They go to the box. So we'll see what Michigan team we see coming into this weekend, because the Wolverines, I think they're 12 in the pairwise. This is an important series for them.
Very much
They can
so.
decide whether or not they secure their spot in the postseason or they put themselves on the bubble. Losses to Minnesota probably won't hurt their pairwise very much, but a win would really help a ton.
We always seem to have you on right before Michigan. You just hate him that much, don't you, Kinger?
Yeah, I don't like him. I think the discipline comes from the coach too. I mean, I just think he's a Rottweiler. It's a pretty intense situation, I think, behind the bench, and I'd love to end them. Get them for a couple here, but I do think it's going to be you got the children of Yost. It's a hard place to play. They did not have Hage last time. He's got 30 points. He was injured in Minnesota. He was trying to go, but he couldn't go. That's a real nice player for them.
He was in a boot. He was never going to go. Yeah.
So that's a big ad. I mean, and I think they have this one circled. So if you want to watch some fun hockey, I'm going to be excited to see between Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. I mean, this is a litmus test for our Gophers and see what we're really made of here.
Now, Viggs, Minnesota has been very successful under Bob Motzko at Yost. I mean, very successful. Better there than here.
Yeah, I think they like playing on the road there. I think the Michigan players, look forward to this weekend, high-end talent against high-end talent. When the Big Ten Hockey Conference was formed, this is probably my favorite series that was created, because instead of having that Thanksgiving one-off, now you get to play each other 4 times a season with points on the line. And the styles of these two programs is just so entertaining to watch. We always talk about college hockey being great because it's a game of mistakes. These players have the freedom to make a few mistakes. They're pushing the edge and the envelope of what they're allowed to do all the time. And if you don't think the players are excited to play in a game like this, you got to be kidding yourself, because this is one they circle on the calendar and then they want to impress. There's going to be a lot of scouts in the building at Yost watching these players, and it's a big time series.
Kinger, Michigan's always been my favorite, though, Kinger. Since Bonin was playing and they started the College Hockey Showcase. Those were the best games, when they first started at the Civic Center, and then they'd travel around. I mean, it's been fun for decades for me. It's always been my second favorite rivalry behind, North Dakota for me, because Michigan has ended our season quite a few times in the 90s and national championship teams, and they're a fun team to hate.
Yeah, Marty Turkle was a problem. I got Madison, North Dakota, Michigan. Yeah, those are all teams that we don't like. And it's good to have hate in hockey. It really is. I think it makes hockey better. I don't like watching a game where everybody's buddies with each other. And so that is a credit to the Michigan coach. This is a gangster behind the bench. And, so this is going to be a street fight this weekend.
That's
the one thing about this Michigan roster is I don't think they have the defensive talent that they've had maybe over the last decade. There isn't a Quinn Hughes type player on this roster. And so I think that is one thing that holds them back a little bit. They do have a couple seniors and a grad player back there, I think, but they're just not the high end guys that we're used to seeing. So I think that's one piece where Minnesota can really put pressure on them. And it seems like Minnesota has got it figured out right now that is a successful recipe right now, is putting pucks deep, getting on the forecheck, taking away time and space, and getting the ground game started.
I do think it's going to be a much tougher weekend, Kinger. Blanking Michigan for a weekend, which hadn't happened in, what was it, almost 100 years in their history. They are going to be pissed, and they're going to be fired up.
Yeah, but you know what's, and adding to that Michigan series, there was a lot of talk between the benches. You might have been taking pictures down there.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I like about our squad is I love having size on the back end. Rinzel's a big boy, Chesley, even Grube is a little truck out there. I mean, it is, Cal Thomas, that is a huge advantage. But I know they're just, they really got violated in Mariucci. I think there is some permanent marks, whether it was the scoreboard or things that were said. So I expect a feisty one.
Yeah.
And was that Renzel who was doing the little sweeping motion at the end of the series?
Yeah, I was in the box during that period, and I did capture video, which is not going on the air or being publicized anywhere. You are correct, Kinger. It was very foul. It was very raw, and it was very entertaining. So
it was raw and it was real.
It was real raw.
Well, remember the picture of Motzko on the bench a couple years ago? I mean, that could be their Curse of the Bambino. That was one of they just put this horrible imitation photo of him right on the glass when he was coaching the whole time. And I don't know, that took it too far. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Was that the Humpty Dumpty one?
I think so, or Mr. Potato Head. I don't know what it was.
They
used to get Lucia with that chia pet head, and he'd have to walk by it. But
they've got a great fan section. They just egg you on. It's very entertaining. So I mean, you can never knock them for their enthusiasm. The children of the Ostvigs, they are on top of you, and they just come up. We've heard from Jack Ramsey. I mean, just the stuff they come up with is
they do their own research.
Oh yeah,
they do their own research. It's a deep dive. I think they probably have an institute that comes to Minnesota, starts talking to ex-girlfriends and rivals from high school, and gets the book on all the players. Because Ramsey was like, I don't know how they find out some of this stuff, but it's deep and it's real.
Yeah, they have an advanced team for sure.
Yeah.
So what happens this weekend, Vigs? What are your thoughts and what are your predictions?
Well, I'm really interested to see how the weekend plays out with the officiating and the physicality, because it certainly does. One of our comments earlier was like, it's been prison rules in the Big Ten lately.
Yep.
And
it has been.
That's something where I think the Gophers have been figuring out how to be a little bit more aggressive. Evan Werner was the one who cross-checked Jimmy Stuggard at the end of the game and started all that drama.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan had their blow up here with Sparty to end that weekend. So I'm interested to see, are they able to focus on the game, or are some of these petty, things on the side going to distract? I think we saw the Wild when they went and played Nashville. They had some of that distraction factor early in the game, and it took, the Wild off their game. How does Minnesota handle that? I think the Gophers historically under Motzko don't take very many penalties. Bob always says that, you take your revenge by putting up points. These games are too important for pairwise and seedings and conference stuff to have these petty rivalries. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I like the way the Gophers played against Wisconsin. It seems like everybody's healthy now for the Gophers. I've heard a lot of guys talk about how sick Minnesota was the last couple weekends. And so they all seemed healthy. I didn't hear any coughing on the ice at practice on Tuesday. So that's a good sign for them.
How many points, Figs? What do you think?
I'm back on it. 6 points.
Oh, there we go.
Season sweep of the Badgers and
Oh.
Wolverines this year.
That would be excellent. All right, Kanger, give us your thoughts on the weekend and your prediction.
Yeah, I don't think Michigan's that good, to be honest with you. I think we get 6. I think it is a cage match. I really don't think they're that good. Obviously, this forward coming back is a nice player, but I think we get him. We get him good.
All right.
And I think you have to like that Soulier is probably anointing himself as the starter with his play against Wisconsin. I think that gives you a little bit more consistency and backbone to this team. Jude, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say sweep. This is the beginning, guys. This is the beginning of a challenging part of the year. They're going to show us that they're getting ramped up for the Big Ten playoffs, for the NCAA tournament. I don't mind if they finish second, but if they finish first, embrace it. Do your thing. Just keep shoveling it through. And I hope Michigan comes back here for a Big Ten championship. Let's go. Let's beat them here. Let's embarrass them here.
I would really like to see a rematch with Michigan State with the Gophers healthy and at full strength at Mariucci. I think that would be great for Big Ten Network. It'd be great for the Gophers.
Yeah.
It could be, the number 2 overall seed in the NCAA tournament at stake in that kind of game. That would be my kind of scenario I'd like to see.
Mine was more of the revenge factor, but yes, Vigo coming in with logic. Gosh, sorry. What do you do? Well, Kanger, we're excited for our live show next week. It's going to be weird. It's going to be off the cuff. It's going to be fun. We love this live stuff. We embrace it.
The one thing I would tell your fan base, which is big, is, it's going to be like 12 degrees or something, right? If you go to this event at noon, you're going to be spoiled rotten. You're going to get merch. You'll probably win the Wild Red Wings tickets. You have to be present to win. You'll hear some good music, meet the Bonin boy, get free pizza. You can probably take a pizza home with you, depending on how many people are there. So I think it's a pretty nice little field trip if you're anywhere in the area. It's right on the pavilion side. There's parking right there. We'll be on the ice. The food trucks will be right there, and let's have a day.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun experience. And like I said, new internet company in town. That's what we need. So, because I dump cable. Just saying.
Fiber is where it's at.
Fiber is where it's at. So when I'm back on, I love it too. And so maybe the people on the northern side of the cities will take you up on it. Get this new gateway stuff going. So I'm glad they're here. It's gonna be a fun thing to do for us. So looking forward to it. Kinger, thanks for coming on the show. Are you ready for some overtime?
I am. I'm in my cigar room here, so
I'm gonna
pour myself something, and
I'm gonna have to go get some water myself. I'm sick and I'm just so thirsty. Ugh.
Quick public service announcement for all Gopher fans. There's a Gopher-like emoji. If you haven't used it before, you need to start using this as a Gopher fan. It's the greatest. You just go in. I think it's a chart graphic. It's on my most used, but if you kind of look here, you probably won't be able to see it. But see that little thing that looks like an M? It's on the third row, second from the top. That is pro level fandom to always only send that Gopher emoji, that little, it's like a math chart that's gold and it looks like an M. That's your hack as Gopher fans. If you're not using that emoji and it's not in your top emojis, you got to look in the mirror.
There you go. The Kinger has spoken. As I look for it right now, I'm trying to put it on your name.
It's hard to find.
I'll find it. I'm going to add it to your name.
If you don't use it every Friday and Saturday, it's hard to find.
Maybe could the U just like pay a bunch of money and get a custom M1 Vigs?
No. I think this works pretty well.
They can't, but I don't know who came up with it, but I love it. I started seeing it a few years ago, and I'm like, that's just genius that somebody found that math chart that kind of looks like a golden.
I'll find it. I'll find it and I'll start using it more often myself because I do see it a lot on the used stuff. So that would be great. Vigs, you got anything cooking? I know you did some, finance stuff, and there was actually a finance article just the other day. We should talk about that in overtime a little bit, but all your finance stuff is always great when you're
Yep.
working on, because you always get all the good stuff, man.
Stay tuned. I've got 3 more weeks of youth hockey, and then
Oh,
a little bit more stuff on GPL as we get to the end of the season. So stay tuned.
Look at that, folks. Look at that. All right. Well, looking forward to it. Thanks, Kinger, for coming on the show. You're always one of our most popular guests. We got a lot of people watching tonight, so that's good.
I love it, man. You guys do such a good job. As a Gopher fan, it's a weekly listen. So thank you guys for what you do.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we'll be back next week. It's going to be on Thursday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be streaming live from our lovely little Fiber to Fish House event. So be sure you tune in for that. We're going to have Cappy on the show. And it's going to be a fun thing. So not Wednesday, Thursday afternoon next week. For those of you watching right now live, stay tuned for some overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL Podcast. Ooh, now that's a sound effect. What you got going this week, Vigs?
So, with the Michigan series, I've got totally worthy adversary. It's a barrel-aged Imperial Stout from Fulton. They used to have this all the time in 6-packs. Well, they have gone big, and they've got crowlers of it now in stores. It's one of my favorites. And with this big series here with Michigan, I thought worthy adversary is the way to go. Cheers, everyone.
Oh,
Well done.
cheers to you.
Awesome. It's really good. I always love this beer from Fulton, and this one's special because it's barrel-aged and it's big. Oh, Cruz Azul.
Let's go. I think you go like this, right? Is this how we start overtime? Oh, no, I didn't do it right. Hold on. There we go. It's officially overtime. It's probably empty because it's my house, but oh, I hope it's not empty. That smells good. This is like what the Kardashians drink, I think. Please be something in the bottle. Oh, yes. My son hasn't been home in a while. Oh, that's not enough, though. Come on. I got one shot of it anyway to get us going. Oh, that's good.
There we go. There, look at your name now, Kinger.
There you go. Look at that.
There you go.
Look at the difference in the energy there.
Look at that.
I mean, I feel like I could play right now. Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me once a year.
It's always great to have you, man.
I'd like
I'm
to.
I'm going to run upstairs and get some water real quick because I've been fighting a cold all week. So be right back myself.
Yeah, the colds are brutal right now.
Yeah, I was patient zero. I gave one to Wagner doing Tuesday Night Lights, and he just can't shake it. Every time we do the show, he's just cough button the whole time. I think he's got a weak immune or something. But I'm back. I'm fine, but it is bad. If you get it, whatever that was, it's not good.
Yeah, I got a dose of it, and it really knocked me out last weekend. So it was good for me that the Gophers were on bye as well. I think I might have caught it from one of the players when I was there. So I think I got coughed on, maybe unintentionally, but I went through it. But I'm on the right side of it right now. So
It's
a little bit of congestion, but feeling good. Yeah, I really like the Tuesday Night Lights thing. You know, I don't watch as much high school hockey right now because I get so into coaching my kids and then the Gophers. that it's hard to spend the time, but it was fun to watch the games. It got me to tune in each Tuesday, and it's fun to hop on a couple times.
Yeah, the stream is dialed. Like, we definitely have the Manning cast part figured out. We got to figure out the college game day part. I think next year we need to just bring like a food truck to each game, and there's one free item, follow Pulltab, get a free slice or a free taco. And it's hard because it's in the winter, right? So college game day has the benefit of camping out on a campus, and it's so cold. We'll have the hockey yak van out there, but it's just hard to create the energy in the building. And some of those rinks, they don't have lobbies, right? So, but we're going to figure it out. I think there's a ton of potential there.
Yeah, I was impressed because I got a hockey yak jacket with my hockey association this year. So I was like, hey, I know that brand. It's got like the faux fur in it. Yeah, it's warm.
The thing in the cuff. Oh my God.
It's been perfect.
Yeah,
I've been in some cold rinks this year. Those county arenas in St. Paul. Those sometimes are colder inside than outside.
You can wear a T-shirt with one of these jackets, which is bizarre. Like, no matter how cold it is. So, yeah, it's good. I've actually got to watch a lot of high school hockey. I kind of just do the hair stuff. I don't really know what's going on till the tournament, but that Moorhead team, man, they're just painting Picassos. It is so fun to watch them play. I hope they make it to St. Paul because all the old men are just going to be in heaven watching how they play hockey. It's unreal.
They've got Hill Murray this weekend at Aldrich, I believe.
Yeah, they got Rogers tonight, maybe. What day is it?
Well, Rogers just played last night, so
they play tomorrow night against Rogers and Saturday against Hill, I think.
That should be a tough ticket, I would think, on Saturday.
I might have to take a peek at that one. It's close, and Hill's really good. So, but I just love how they play. Moorhead, it's like 3-on-3 overtime. They face off. You're never getting the puck.
So I run upstairs to get some water. Barb's got this on the big screen, and
Nice.
Your little M's are like in white. They're not in gold there.
It's like your sweatshirt, man.
Maybe. I don't know. Because I look at it on the screen, it's nice and gold, but on YouTube's live stream, it's white. So
it's all right. They're probably fighting with Apple. Who knows?
It's the effort that counts.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're trying, though. We're trying. Did you guys? I saw that somebody's got Kinger. Did you put the stuff up? Any special guests on Friday Pulltab?
Yeah. I'd love to do that. Our company is 1 million 1099s and a handful of employees because we make so much video and edit and pods and stuff.
I got my 1099 just this week.
Yeah, well, I think we sent 2,000 of them out. So,
oh my gosh,
not that many, but yeah, I'd love to have a guest come down to Stillwater, especially if you bring us some luck. One of our clients came, custom one, and the Pulltab Friday bid is you just rip one pull tab. Each person that's there, we go by one, and you just take it, whatever it is. And our client came and he ripped a $5.99, which is the biggest win we've ever had. And the first time we ever did it, we ripped 100. Three people, 3 tabs. So that's kind of where we were like, let's do it. And then we had about 3 months where we didn't win anything. It was pretty tough television for 30 seconds on Friday. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I love, man.
Didn't Spencer pull one?
Spencer's been very lucky. Spencer's pulled the first 100 was Spencer. Spencer pulled another 100. Elena just pulled her first 100, and then the client hit the $5.99.
Nice.
No, Spencer opened the $5.99.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought Spencer did
because the client was with us. Yeah, you're right. It was Spencer.
Because
he's up.
Spencer was in those Hankinson seats.
Yes, he got
and I spotted him, and it was right after. I'm like doing 500 finally because it had been such a long drought.
Those are the best seats in the. He's got 6, and randomly there's about 3 seats in the best place in the building, and there's a little box there that you can set your drinks on. It's like a 3-seat rail randomly that's there, and Yeah, that I had season tickets in section 21, about fourth from the top over by the Hobie Baker there, and the building is so good. But when I went down low, I was almost like, I really wish I didn't do this, because this is so much better to sit down right on glass level, and
Yeah.
they're just so much bigger, so much faster. It makes a big difference. That's a big building, Mariucci. So if you sit close, you really see the skill.
I do miss the glass though. The old glass was easier to look through at angles.
Well, you're a camera guy. I don't notice it, but
the plexiglass is a little tougher to look through at angles. It gives definitely some wavy lines. That's just me, but yeah, I've tried to shoot through the glass. I even tried recently. I'm just like, it's just too much reflection off the plexiglass. The old real glass was easier to shoot through.
I don't notice it as much when I'm watching. I think
Well,
it's
you're
more
up pretty
of a
high
camera
though, too.
issue. Yeah, but I'll go to practice and I'll sit down pretty low. It is always impressive, when you watch the game on television so much and you get those low seats. Like just once a year, I like going to the Wild game and getting low just to see how intense the game actually is up close, because it's different. I always used to joke with Joe Dizek, my buddy, at the playoffs are not meant for guys like Pierre-Marc Bouchard. They're meant for guys like Joe Dizek, because it's a tough game when it's that time of year.
The guy you've been saying sucks all year, and then you go down on the glass and you're like, oh my God, he's really good. I would say the same thing to hockey parents. Even like girls hockey too at the youth level. Like if you're sitting in the concourse up top watching, you go down on the glass and watch a youth hockey game, boys or girls, you're going to see that these kids can do stuff that most of the fans or parents certainly can't. So it's a whole different perspective. It's expensive though. I only get them for free. I don't think I can ask again, but yeah.
If Slarksy, if you're watching, can we get Vigo in the box for like a third period once just to observe? Don't you think that'd be an interesting report? Obviously, you can't report, the trash talk, stuff like that, but just the experience, a writing about the experience of being in the box, Figs, I think would be kind of fun.
I still someday want to do like an all access Vigo perspective on how Minnesota prepares for a series, like a big series, like how they scout, how they, do their Saturday morning video review after a Friday game. What's the coaching like on the bench? Someday, maybe before Bob retires, he'll let me in under the hood, as he always likes to say.
No, he won't. He's a hockey coach. Like when Kirill got hurt, we do the podcast. I still don't even know what's wrong with him, and I don't know when he had surgery or if he had surgery. And I'm in the rink every week, and I know nothing. Hockey guys they don't play that way, man. Not hockey ops. If you get that done, it'll be great content, but I'd be shocked if they open the kimono to you.
Maybe it'll happen for like the series against like Merrimack in January or something like that, because that's the kind of game that you could get access to. I bet
When they do,
you're probably not going to get that from Michigan.
I wonder if you would get better access if you went on a road trip.
Yeah,
like join the team, fly out to Penn State or something like that.
It's all how you pitch it. You can't tell them I want to show your secret sauce.
No,
you just gotta say I want to shadow you for a weekend and do a content, and then you write about how they prep.
Oh, totally. You don't want to give any of that stuff up, but it's just it's more about some inside stuff, but not the secret sauce, like you said, Viggs.
It wasn't until I think Don had a foot out the door that I got let in with him. So maybe as Bob starts to wrap up his coaching career.
What do you got there, Kinger?
Well, the problem is I don't have any mixer, so I'm just taking shots here. But this is called Swear Jar. Canadian whiskey, Canadian Swear Jar. Tastes so good, we dare you not to swear. So we'll see if that's even accurate.
Where is this from? What I've never seen this. Is this from Elevated in White Bear?
Absolutely. Thank you. But I this was a gift, I'm sure. Yeah, I love this. So this is my cigar room. I got Morgan Wallen here with the Tennessee plates, and I got the beautiful Russian baby here. These are actually license plates from like Siberia, where Kirill's from. And I got a little in the back of my garage. I got a little cigar room with ventilation and a humidor and all the hockey hair stuff. And I got a Kowalska Leap poster, and I got that banner with the titles on it, that vertical banner in here. Those are the two Gopher things, I guess. And then I got the Fogartys in my basement. I've emailed Terrence Fogarty multiple times to get on the list when they were in the Frozen Four to get the next print. But we did not get that done in Boston, and we did not get done in Tampa Bay, unfortunately. But St. Louis, you never know.
All right.
Ooh, that's good. I'm not going to swear, though.
Oh, man, I was hoping you would.
Are we allowed to? I mean, I could.
It's overtime, man.
Overtime, you can do anything you want.
And
prison rules.
Fuck. That's a big swear, too. That was not. That's like
we've said it all on here. The only thing is we could do it on the live show or the regular show, too. I just need to mark the episode as explicit. It's not an issue.
You guys are pretty pro, though. I don't like the way you do. I actually, when I asked you at one point about players coming on, because actually we could get some players in the ice house this week, but you had a really great answer. You said these are college kids. They're not really going to say anything unless they're Johnny Pohl back in the day, who was an amazing quote.
Or Eric Paulson, who's a Swede and doesn't care.
John Weibel maybe was a good quote.
Yeah.
But back when I was writing about college hockey, but yeah, I really like the journalist angle that you guys have. Sorry for everyone watching today because I'm not as smart as those guys, but I just love I love the insight from the opposition telling you what's going on. It's a really smart way to do a pod.
Well, like you just said, you could have current players on. We had closer on, and that was in summer. So he was a little looser. And he was honest. We talked about, losing the national championship game. It's the worst thing ever, but it's a great lesson in failure. Failure is always a lesson. And he was pretty honest and open about it, wasn't he? He's like, yes, it's brutal, but it's kind of part of life, Viggs.
Yeah. And, he's one of those guys who accepts the responsibility of being the goalie on a hockey team under the microscope and gets it. Like he gets the job as that question will come up. So good perspective. I think it's easier to interview players, away from the season because like Ryan Chesley came into the interview room this week and you just instantly knew
he's not saying
we're not going to get anything from him. So I'm just like, so what'd you guys do for the Super Bowl? Nothing. Like I'm sure they had some kind of wild party because college kids on a bye week with the Super Bowl. I'm sure it was over the top fun. And then, who would be the best babysitter for the Huglins? And he's just like, oh, John Middlestad. He's a good human. He's very responsible, very religious. He'd be a good fit for babysitting a kid. But you're not going to get anything about Michigan, anything about the style, anything about what they're working on. Like he's a highly trained PR machine, Ryan Chesley. Now Eric Paulson, on the other hand, I gave him like a softball question about the reffing, and he just goes off. He's just like, you'd like to see the officials understand that we're working hard and give us a call, but they swallowed their whistles. It's embarrassing. It's like I don't think you're supposed to say that.
All you got to do is
Jason Evers comes on, pro answer.
Yeah, true. I think Soulier might open up if we had him. He might be a good, grizzled veteran, but he knows it's the last year. We might be able to.
And he always says, this is a show. We are entertainment. Yes, we're trying to become professionals and we love doing this and we want to move on, but you don't get record attendance at Mariucci for a series if it's not entertaining. And we are here to entertain. That's our job. You know, he likes to do his game with a little bit of flair.
Oh, he does. He's in that Marc-Andre Fleury mold where he's crafty, little. He might be sliding out to the dot on a save. That's fun to watch. It can be scary to watch too, but the team in front of him is good enough. The D is good, so it becomes athletic at that point versus scary.
I was watching a youth hockey tournament before one of our games the other weekend, and there was this girl goalie. For every goal her team scored, she would come out and do like 360 pad slides out to get in the fist bump line at the bench. And then she'd do 360 pad slides coming back to her crease. So I was just like, that kid's a showman.
You should have filmed it. That would have done well on Pulltab. You got to.
It probably would have been great.
Yeah, hit me with that video next time if you play him again.
Looking at all these. Tell us about Drew's popcorn.
Oh, God. How long do you have? So here's the deal.
So that's the popcorn at Mariucci. I rarely go down and eat that food.
No. There's multiple popcorns at Mariucci.
Okay.
There's only one Drew's. I swear that they take a small paintbrush and paint each kernel of popcorn with butter.
Oh, okay.
The top of the bag, the middle of the bag, it's better than movie theater popcorn. It's at center ice on the bench side.
So the open concourse as opposed to the dungeon on the other side.
That's right. It is world-class popcorn. And if you don't believe me and you see me someday and I got it wrong, just shove me because I guarantee you're going to love it. It is so good. I do miss Dino's. That Dino's Euro stand that used to be by the glass was some of the best Dino's you could ever get. It was unbelievable. That's a big loss. People eat weird stuff. I'm shocked how many people eat ice cream at hockey games. Like that line in the Kemps area and it is like 7 scoops. Like to go sit in your seat and have 7 scoops of ice cream in it. I'm a big boy, but that is nuts. I don't know how they do that. Or cookie dough, like that's creepy to me.
In old Mariucci, you used to get the Minnesota Dairy group, like the students would have ice cream. And as a little kid, like going back and getting scoops of that and then going under that gold area behind the gold net, that was just like heaven for me as like a 7-year-old when I'm watching Pat Micheletti out there floating in the neutral zone waiting for a puck.
I like Pat's got himself out there on the socials, man. He's doing those little stand-up Big Ten things. I mean, it's not easy to do that stuff. And I give anybody a lot of credit that puts themselves out there because, you know, when somebody's got a tripod or you're in your house and you're talking about 5 defensemen in the Big Ten and he's older than me, I mean, that's a lot. So I love seeing him out there. I mean, he's expanded for sure.
He it's kind of a running joke too. He just, you know, I said, hey, you know, King are on the podcast this week, and his response was, I'm sure you're doing it at 7:00 or something like that because he loves to rip the late times. And it was just, I'm like, no, normal time.
But he'll still come on at 9:30. He'll
still come on. He'll still come on,
which I love. I get little Monday chats every once in a while with Pat. Like we'll check in on Monday afternoon, you know, after you know, whatever radio appearance he's done, and we talk about the weekend and things and what's going on. So love Pat, love how engaged he is with everything. You know, he doesn't come to media availability. He basically just walks into Bob's office and gets all the lowdown. So when you've got mural cred, you don't have to wait for Tuesday.
I found Bob doesn't talk about, like I saw Bob at Prior Lake at a holiday tournament, and I tried to I know him from the Bevies with Bob thing we did when they started doing beer at Mariucci, which was a lot of fun. And I asked him the question I asked you, Vigo. I was like, this is the team you always wanted, isn't it? You don't got the one line that you have to be, you got the big D. And just dead-eyed me and was like, I like the wild stuff that you guys are doing.
Wow, he shut you down.
Yeah, he just
quickly.
turned. He was like, yeah, I think he asked me if we had done the J.C. Penney holiday thing, which we didn't do. But yeah, it was. Yeah, he didn't give me anything. He was watching somebody though. He was either watching I guess it would have been a Moorhead or maybe the kid on Eden Prairie that's dad played. That was a good player at maybe at St. Cloud. Yeah, he was in the building watching a high school game. That's a big deal. Bob Motzko coming to watch it.
Viggs, we kind of teased this, during the show, but Mote is bringing up any comments on the Gopher hockey program being the most profitable non-revenue program in the country. Is that true?
I think it's likely true for this reporting period. One of the reasons why the numbers are so big for the Gopher hockey program this year is because they've changed how they bookkeep parking revenue and concessions, things you can buy, novelties, all that memorabilia, apparel at games, and they've allocated that specifically to the different programs. So before, all the parking money just went in the general bucket.
Yeah.
Now they've divided it up into this is how much money we make when there's a hockey game, for concessions. It's not one big bucket anymore.
I think that's
tied to hockey.
Completely fair. I think that's completely fair.
No, it's totally fair, but that's why the numbers look different this year as compared to the last couple. I can actually dig into the numbers across all non-revenue sports and figure out the plus minus between revenue and expenses, but not everybody has done their reporting yet. That usually doesn't happen for another couple of weeks here. Minnesota is probably the most compliant school in the country.
Yes.
They file their stuff. It's publicly available. They have a webpage for it. A lot of other schools try to hide it, submit it last minute. So getting that nationwide data is always tricky, but it does come out. I'll dig into it here once youth hockey season is over for me, and we'll actually figure it out. Is it true? Because Scott Dockerman, who did this story on Big Ten revenue, it's pretty easy to find all the Big Ten school stuff. It's a lot harder to find NCHC. North Dakota usually does really well. The Boston schools, BC and BU, have done well, but that's been because they've really done a lot of fundraising. And that's why their numbers are so good, because they've invested a lot in their program in the last 5-10 years in terms of facilities, stuff for the players. And I think now that money is going down because it's going into NIL. And I think you're seeing that at Michigan State as well. Their money for contributions are going down because it's going to NIL. So it's going out of the university books and into other entities that don't have to report. So, yes, Gopher hockey makes money. Big surprise.
Yeah. Not really.
But ticket sales have been really good for the Gophers the last couple of years. Bob has really got this team to an entertaining spot, and they've done well, and the fans have responded. And like Kinger said, Mary G is loud. The students are engaged. Since COVID, the in-person experience of athletics at the U has been awesome for football and hockey. Men's basketball, a little different story, but hard to blame them. That product's been a little tough.
Blow up the arena.
Even I think Justin Gard is finally on board with that plan. So
sorry, it's and don't do any of the sharing with the Timberwolves stuff. You need a big multi-purpose facility that can do wrestling, host a wrestling tournament, or just things like that.
Wrestling, gymnastics, volleyball.
Yeah, all the stuff the
basketball.
pavilion
They need
does.
that.
You need a multi-purpose facility. You do something with the Timberwolves, it's going to be basketball only.
Yeah,
and you still need a big facility for those other things. So just
Williams Arena is cool, but it's the worst venue in the metro for a big time program. It's just not. If you're in your seat and you're just there, it's fun. But getting to your seat, getting a concession,
and the
going
seats
to
are
the
not
bathroom,
comfortable either.
Williams is tough. So it's
It's time.
Served its purpose. It's time.
And Mariucci could be used for temporary sports. It could be a busy facility, yes. But if you want something new, you might have to build something new where the current facility is.
And I think it'd be okay if the Gophers transitioned, with site, playing at Target Center or whatever the Timberwolves figure out temporarily too. You could figure that out. But they need something different on campus and someday. But the big thing is the revenue sharing. It's hard for athletic departments to do anything right now.
Yeah.
They've got to pay, $22 million, $20 million to students in next year's budget. It's going to be intense.
Doesn't take long. You say anything about Mariucci Arena, and I get a text from a certain person saying, no.
It's a lot of work for the people that work there.
Somebody's watching live in their garage right now.
You got any questions? You got any questions, Jupiter, in there as we finish up? I got to watch one episode of Sopranos before I go to bed.
Oh, really?
Maybe a little bowl of Pirates booty. No one needs to know.
What's this mean?
Pirates booty is pretty healthy.
It was students last Friday for MSU and Michigan.
Oh, student broadcast, the worst.
Oh, yeah.
I know you said be nice to them, one of you guys, and I just
they're learning.
No, it's Saturday Night Live, man. It's so bad. I can't lie.
I seriously think you could do a skit on the student broadcast stuff. Some of the intermission reports are just hilariously, unintentionally bad.
It's a skit.
I would love. Well, maybe we could do. The thing is, the Big Ten would come down on us. If we put up just the Big Ten plus feed and just sat there and commented on it, they'd probably bust us for it.
It's brutal, though. I'm sorry. You realize how good we have it here in Minnesota. When you see those other broadcasts, they're so embarrassing.
And that's because the U invests in it. Like when they did the hour pregame show the other day for the Gopher series, they talked about the sponsors. They had Wally Chapman from RBC on. We're talking about the investment they're making and finding sponsors. That's pretty unique in college hockey. And it's shows how hard Mark Coyle and the athletic department worked to put a good product on for the fans.
And I've seen a lot of ads recently on Channel 9. Free sports. They're talking about St. Thomas, St. Cloud, Minnesota. They're promoting, hey, you don't need cable service. You can get us over the air. And I think, from here on out, next weekend, both Fox 9, and then Penn State, it's both Big Ten Network, both games. So one more student broadcast, and then we're kind of home free. And I don't mind it. I sit here, put on the TV, and just have fun.
That's a rugged ride, buddy. That's tough. Perfect. Yeah. I don't know what ornithology is, but that makes sense for Yale Harvard.
Is that birds? Birds ornithology? I don't know how good my Latin skills are anymore, but
the funny thing is, I watched some of the Badger stuff last week. I think they did okay. When they're playing Penn State, but I do like it because they basically shut down for period intermissions. They don't talk. You just see a scene of the arena. You don't have to hear all this BS and
a lot of hot mics.
I've had to give Pat Michelotti a text message every once in a while. Like, hey, careful the hot mic on the stream broadcast because they've got you wired in here
constantly. And it makes me nervous in my living room. I'm like, all you need is one comment to change your career,
Pat, don't screw up here.
A lot of hot mics on those broadcasts.
Oh, the worst one was at Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas was, they came close.
I don't think they came close. He's pretty okay, so you don't got to worry too much. But
I was texting him that. I'm like, said, be careful. They're not cutting your mics off when you go to commercial at first, and so.
By the way, really good effort for our Wild guys tonight in that Canada-Sweden game. Gus was unbelievable.
He's hung out to dry early though. That was
Brodeen scored a goal.
What's with Brodeen scoring? He never does that for the Wild.
Well, he's been hurt, but he's a stud. It's unfortunate that Canada squeaked it out, but the round robin's tricky, right? So I'm going out to Boston on Monday to see the U.S. Sweden, but
nice.
I mean the U.S. if they were to drop their first 2 games, I think that's dead man walking for that game, right? Because if it's only a 4-team round robin,
you get 3 games.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out. You would know this because you're in the youth hockey world.
Are there fair play points at stake here?
No, but the tiebreakers I went into today. But so if we were to beat Finland tomorrow, you're in pretty good shape because you've got to win. Sweden does not. And then you're going to play Canada Saturday night. I don't know. I don't know what the record will be of the 2 teams that advance. Because my understanding is if you don't finish top 2, you jump on a plane and go home.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think there's a 3rd place game. So you stick around Boston if you're in the top 2. You play Thursday night.
See, I didn't know the format. I knew they're doing round robin. I didn't know what the playoff, the one and done would be like. But I don't know. I thought that round robin, who's got the best, who's got the worst, those 2 face off again for like a semi, but apparently they're not. So
no, they're just going right to a championship.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting then. Yeah.
Tiebreakers head to head.
So are they doing point system? So like since tonight's game went to overtime, did like one team only get 2 points and one team get one?
Less points for an overtime victory.
Okay, so
regulation is huge.
Okay.
Winning is huge. Head to head is huge, and then after that, it gets into goal differential. There's even like in the 10th tiebreaker, it's like 5-on-5 scoring. I mean, I was deep on the internet today because the format's interesting. So it's a 10-minute 3-on-3 overtime. That's what they almost played the full 10 minutes tonight. The NHL obviously just does 5. And then a shootout in the round robin if you get through the 10. But the championship games like the Olympics, they'll just keep running 20s until somebody wins.
Nice.
Which is good. Yeah. I hope we get U.S. Canada next Thursday night. That would be electric.
I mean, it's the dream of this format too, is to have that game.
Well, that's what they want
with no Russia.
But Sweden and Finland are good, man. Who knows? I mean, the Finns could win the tournament. You never know.
I like Josh was saying here. Howlovich's favorite tomorrow night.
Yeah, the 2 Gophers. The game I'm at will have all 5 Wild players because you got 2 on the U.S. and 3 on Sweden, so that'll be cool. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I've been waiting for this. This whole generation hasn't had best on best. McDavid and Matthews and those guys were on Team North America in 2016.
Which was like the best team ever assembled. It was so much fun.
McKinnon too. It was so fun with the pink jerseys and everything. But this is the first time you're getting the Kachuk brothers and the Hughes and McDavid, McKinnon, wearing the real jersey. So that's going to be great.
And how good is still Crosby? My God.
He is an absolute.
Still so good.
That's the X factor. To beat Canada, you almost have to.
You got to take
a stake in the heart.
Take him out, but
I just don't know. He's never not won gold. Captain.
He hasn't lost a game since since 2010 or something like that, and for Team Canada.
They were showing him on the bench tonight too. This guy is an alpha beyond alpha. Like he's 1,000% comfortable yelling at anyone else on the team if they're screwing around or not focused. McKinnon's cut from the same cloth, but he defers to Sid because they train in the off season. He's like his little brother, but I mean, he is such a stud. You just can't beat the guy. I hope we can, but
I stumbled into something where he was being interviewed when he was like 14, and someone was talking about like, how do you like deal with all the physical play and the cheap stuff and the shadowing and the hacks when you're playing. And he's just like, I know and I'm confident enough that that is not my game. I'm not out here to settle scores. I'm not out here to get revenge. I am here to be the best hockey player I can, and I'm here to score goals and win.
You ever see
Like,
the?
I can't get distracted by that stuff, and I'm 100% iron focused.
Have you seen the mic'd up with him where he's sitting at center ice with the other captain and the other captain's complaining about something, and he turns to him and goes, I don't hit anybody ever. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't, like that. No, I don't hit anybody. That's not what I do. Come on, let's talk like reasonable guys here about what happened. He was awesome tonight, man. He really was.
Yeah.
He doesn't Connor McDavid and just throw a flying elbow at
I'm not a Connor McDavid guy. I watched that Amazon series, and I mean, he's just so burdened by his responsibility. The most telling thing in that docuseries was when before Game 7, first of all, the access they had was unbelievable. I can't even believe they're driving with Connor McDavid to Game 7 in the car. Amazon, like, how in the hell did that happen? Motzko won't let you go on the road with them, but Connor McDavid's going to let you ride in his car. But his quote was, they were asking him about Game 7, and he said something like, I'm just excited for this to all be over. And then they cut to Matthew Tkachuk in his swimming pool in Florida, and he's like, this is like a dream. It's like Christmas morning. He's swimming, his dad's cooking steaks, and I mean, those are the guys that win, that aren't holding the stick so tight. But I mean, he is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't buy into the whole vibe. It seems like he's a hockey slave, like he's the next prodigy. Yeah. He's been commissioned for 20 years to play in the NHL. He just seems sad. But that'll probably all change when he wins the cup. And Sid got a lot of heat early on for being a whiner, kind of like Bedard's getting right now. I mean, remember that version of Sid with the visor up here and, yelling at, but he scored 100 points as a rookie. I mean, that's how good he was. You're not seeing that happening as much anymore. That's for sure.
Did the switch over work for you, Viggs?
Maybe. Did it sound like it works?
It sounds different, but your AirPods die on you?
Sure died on me. I got old technology there.
Any last questions to round it out, or I got to go visit Tony?
I don't think so.
I want to know how you respond to Bill Guerin saying that you were on suspension for the interview on Wild on 7th this week.
What's funny is I haven't heard it because I was really bummed. I love Billy so much. He would be sitting here on overtime with us. He's a great dude, and I didn't hear. What did he say? He said I was not allowed to interview him, or what?
Yeah, you're suspended, just like Hartman.
What was the? Oh, because of what I said about Hartman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love Hartman, man. I just love I don't want to call him a rat, but I'm just telling you, man. When it gets to the playoffs, all this stuff everyone's crying about, like that guy will show up. I promise you. He's been getting killed too, like Russo going on the radio and taking.
I don't understand why Russo was going that way, because like
this is the last straw. The whole team's against him. He's hurting the team. Like Ryan Hartman, man. I don't know. I'm a fan. I like Hartsey.
I don't know. I just as a football player, hockey player, when you've got guys who are like diving into your swimsuit region on the draws, you're just like, what the hell, dude? Like, you deserve some punishment for that. And Hartman's just like, I'm not going to tolerate this from a young kid, So what? He got bloodied on the ice. Yeah, maybe stupid. Maybe the NHL player safety doesn't like it, but like what Stützle was doing there isn't a hockey play either. It's being an idiot.
Yeah, Chicklets lit him up too. I saw they went for the clickbait. Ryan Hartman tried to kill a man. I don't know. Carter and I have talked about it on the show. It was amazing. The 10 gamer hadn't come down, so we recorded that on Monday.
Yeah.
Everything I said and everything he said was before the suspension. And he was like, Carter had the best line. He said the Wild should basically put $500,000 in escrow and, set him up to play the way he needs to play. Yeah, we were. I actually think Billy agrees, though. I think Billy loves that style of hockey. He came from the World Cup of hockey, and I think if anybody's putting Ryan Hartman on trial, I don't think it's Bill Guerin. But I don't know. But he's a tough man. So
There you go.
Yeah. I think, the NHL game needs some of that. You're professionals. You got to police yourself. We've talked about the Gophers with the prison rules that seem to be happening now with the Big Ten officials. You can't do it. It's amateur hockey. The games are too important. You can't have these petty rivalries in college. Like the schedule doesn't allow for it. But in the NHL, 82 games, 8 teams made the playoffs. You figure it out from there. There's more room for some of that, and everybody's an adult at that stage. In hockey in college, if you get in a fight, everyone's got a cage on. What are you going to prove?
Yeah.
There's nothing to prove in college. Like there's nothing on the line there.
Hartman got burned because he was mic'd up a year ago when he kind of settled the score in the faceoff circle, and so this play looked a lot like that. He had an altercation with the guy. I will say those Department of Player Safety videos are the unintentional comedy in those videos, like the voice on it, and it is amazing. It's like an episode of Cops.
When is Pulltab going to start doing parodies of?
Well, we were talking. It is so funny. Like they just leave no doubt. Like, this is what happened. This is why we did what we did. Here's his file. Yeah, that one specifically was amazing.
I think there's a fun kangaroo court opportunity for the Wild. Your apparel on this road trip was not satisfactory. We've flagged you before.
They won't touch that. No, I just hope he comes back and plays awesome, and the boys like him. So they can block all that stuff out. They don't care about reporters or social media, putting them on trial. So we're going to need him. And, he can put the puck in the net. He's had a hard year this year, but, he'll figure it out.
Feels weird. Like Russo was a pretty big Hartman fan for a long time, and he'd stand up for him. And then this just total turncoat on the whole issue. So interesting.
Yeah.
No, I was listening to that in the car on the radio, and I was like, man, this is tough, but I'm sure a lot of fans feel that way too. I mean, you lose the roster spot, but it's hockey, man. It's
an emotional game.
Yeah. And I mean, I like, if I could have a little alert on my phone that told me when an NHL game was going sideways, I would turn it on in a heartbeat if like some stuff was happening. And that, we got to remember, that was a really tough game.
6-0, right?
We were getting killed, and I was not very happy watching it. So sometimes when you see a player that's more unhappy than you are, it kind of feels good. Like, yeah, this does suck, man. And it makes you do crazy things sometimes.
I remember a coach in my youth once said, maybe 6-0 or 45 zip, but you can send them home with a few more ice bags on their trip home. You can send a message that, hey, you may have beat us, but we're still here, and you'll remember me with that little bruise that I'm going to give you somehow or some other way within the scope of the game.
Like a check behind on Jimmy Snuggerud?
I've often said that if the game is like 6-0 and a team takes a penalty, I am telling my D, like Ryan Chesley, hit the shot blocker. Like, don't keep the puck down. Just wind up and take a big old slapper and let them get in the way, you know, because we don't need another goal. But you can send a message that if you do this to us, we're just going to tattoo you with some slap shots. You know, Chesley can hit the ball like 350 off the golf tee. So I'm sure his slap shot's pretty good too.
Yeah. Most of the hockey guys can play golf.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish I could. Yeah. I did like your text though, Vigo. That this is not, we're out of season. Doesn't matter. You haven't been playing. You went down to Florida for a couple days. Bad things happen. Doesn't really count. It's spring training. I'm going to take that to heart.
I'm a positive mental attitude guy for most things athletics. So yeah, just stay with the process. I even got Mike Hastings to smile at me after they got no points out of Mariucci when I brought that up to him. It's like, you know, you didn't get any points, but your guys blocked a lot of shots. They competed. They didn't do anything stupid. You know, it's going to happen. And he's like, yeah, I got you.
I like Hastings.
Hastings is a great guy. I feel bad that he left Minnesota so quickly, but when you get on that path to getting to be a head coach, you can totally get it.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy who wanted to run his own ship, and you know, in college hockey, those chances do not come up very often.
No,
like you just look at the turnover in head coaches. It's not like any other sport. There's a lot of guys who are really entrenched in their jobs and with their schools, and the turnover is slow. So, you know, when you're like Rabs and you get the chance to go to Augustana, you take it. When you're Grant Potolny and you go to Northern Michigan, you take it. You know, those are good opportunities for coaches.
All right, boys. Good show. Stay online for just a couple seconds here, Kinger, as we shut the show down. So we want to make sure you get your upload. So just hang on. Everyone have a good evening. Catch us live next week. There won't be overtime next week. Oh my.
While we wait for the upload.
Yeah. Sounds like a good one. Good night, folks. We'll catch you next week.
Tournament, and he told me, he's just like, man, I saw
What?
Kinger